They said you can't raise meat chickens without commercial feed. I raised 20 birds for 84 days, and my total feed bill was exactly $0. Not a single bag of grain. Today I'm opening the books, the system, the real math, and the one mistake that almost wiped my profit. Look at your freezer right now. Imagine it packed with 20 clean, vacuum-sealed broiler chickens. Each carcass weighs between 5.5 and 6.8 pounds. The skin is thick, with a distinct yellow tint from a diet rich in carotenoids. Now compare that to your last grocery store receipt. A standard pasture-raised organic chicken at the supermarket currently commands $8.99 per pound. For a single 6-pound bird, you're handing over $53.94 at the register. Multiply that by 20, and your retail baseline sits at $1,078.80. If you saw my previous video detailing the first 90 days with laying hens, you know the egg numbers are a predictable equation. You manage a steady input for a steady output, but the meat side is a completely different game. Layers are a marathon. Broilers are an aggressive high-speed sprint. I didn't believe this was possible until I ran the actual numbers on day 84. The standard textbook approach tells you that a Cornish cross chick, the heavyweight champion of meat chickens, requires approximately 15 pounds of commercial starter and grower crumbles to reach harvest weight. For 20 birds, that equates to 300 pounds of feed. At current market rates for non-GMO organic grain, you're looking at an upfront operational expenditure of $240 just to fill the feeders. I bypassed that expense entirely. My input cost for feed across the entire 12-week production cycle was exactly $0. However, this system is not a magic trick. It is an intentional engineering equation with a specific hidden expense. If you fail to calculate this single hidden variable, your $0 feed bill will cost you more than the highest priced supermarket label. We will calculate that exact dollar figure down to the penny at the end of this video. To eliminate the commercial feed store from your supply chain, you must build what I call the stealth feed engine. This system relies on 3 distinct interlocking pillars that run parallel to each other. If one pillar fails, the nutrient intake drops below the daily caloric threshold, and your birds will begin to mobilize their own muscle tissue for survival. The first pillar is anaerobic lacto-fermented food scraps. The second is target-managed daily pasture foraging. The third is high-nitrogen larval biomass extraction. Let us look at the first pillar. I do not buy grain, but I do collect biological waste. I walked into my local independent organic market, a small establishment called Green Fields, and spoke directly to the produce manager, Arthur. I asked him what happened to his daily cull lines, the bruised melons, the wilted outer leaves of cabbage, and the day-old bakery trimmings. He told me they pay a waste management firm $120 per pull to empty their organic waste dumpsters twice a week. We engineered a mutual compromise. So every Tuesday and Friday, I'd pull up with 3 clean 5-gallon buckets, food-grade airtight lids, and swap them out. I took their waste for free. But you cannot simply dump raw, rotting produce into a broiler pen. It causes immediate enteritis and digestive tract failure. To stabilize this input, I established a strict lacto-fermentation protocol in my workshop. Every bucket of collected produce was chopped to uniform 1-inch dimensions, packed tightly to exclude oxygen, and inoculated with a cup of raw whey from my kitchen cheesemaking. I added 1% unrefined sea salt by weight to drop the pH level rapidly to 4.5. This anaerobic environment completely suppresses pathogenic bacteria while allowing lactobacillus to multiply. The process breaks down complex cellulose, pre-digests the starches, and synthesizes highly bioavailable B vitamins that meat birds require for metabolic stability. The second pillar is pasture rotation, which we will detail in the next section. The third pillar is your protein anchor. Cornish cross birds cannot survive on vegetable trimmings alone. They require a minimum of 18% crude protein during their primary growth phase. I obtained this through a closed-loop larval reactor. If you have already built that automated black soldier fly larvae system from my previous video, you simply plug it in here. The reactor sits on the edge of the pasture zone, turning high-nitrogen kitchen scraps and offal into a continuous stream of live larvae containing 40% crude protein and 30% essential lipids. But there's a critical operational boundary you must maintain. You must completely ban one specific type of collected food scrap from their diet after week 4. If you do not pull the single common ingredient from the rotation, the system turns highly destructive. It triggers a physical structural failure so severe that you will be forced to eliminate your entire flock before they reach a harvestable size. If you leave Cornish cross broilers in a traditional stationary setup, your profit margin dies in the mud. These birds are selectively bred for extreme muscle deposition. They are inherently lazy. In a standard stationary coop, like the heavy timber structure we designed in my comprehensive coop construction video, broilers will sit directly in their own high nitrogen manure. Within 14 days, they develop severe hock burns, breast blisters, and lose the physical incentive to forage. Forget the stationary coop for broilers. Unlike my standard egg-laying chickens, these meat birds require an entirely different mechanical approach. I engineered a lightweight 10 by 12 foot structural conduit chicken tractor designed specifically for rapid field relocation. The frame is constructed from half-inch EMT electrical conduit, bent at precise 45-degree angles using a manual hand bender. This profile keeps the maximum roof height at exactly 24 inches. This low clearance design is intentional. It prevents the birds from attempting to fly or jump, which can cause pectoral tears, while minimizing wind resistance during spring storms. The entire footprint covers exactly 120 square feet of open ground. The lower 12 inches of the perimeter are wrapped in half-inch hardware cloth to deter digging predators, while the upper section is covered in lightweight avian netting. The rear third of the tractor features a corrugated aluminum utility roof to provide permanent shade and protection from precipitation. Every morning at 7 o'clock, I attach a simple braided polypropylene tow rope to the front timber skids and pull the tractor forward exactly 12 feet onto fresh pasture. This mechanical movement takes less than 90 seconds, but it shifts the entire flock onto a clean carpet of clover, dandelion roots, and active insect life. The birds instantly begin harvesting the tips of the forage grasses. Their scratching behavior aerates the top half-inch of soil, while their fresh manure drops directly onto the cropped plants, introducing high concentrations of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. This eliminates the labor of coop cleaning entirely. It converts a toxic waste accumulation problem into a precise, targeted soil regeneration routine. One afternoon, during a severe thunderstorm in week 3, a localized wind gust caught the unweighted front lip of the tractor, flipping it 45 degrees and pinning 6 birds beneath the aluminum framing. The birds panic when trapped, which leads to immediate cardiac arrest under high stress. I needed an immediate structural fix that cost $0. I drilled 2 through holes into the front oak skids and bolted on a pair of discarded automotive brake rotors that I salvaged from my scrap metal bin. This added 40 pounds of low center of gravity ballast directly to the leading edge of the machine. The modification completely anchored the frame against 40-mile-per-hour headwinds while keeping the tongue weight light enough for a single human operator to move the unit every morning. To manage a $0 feed system, you must throw out the commercial-industrial timeline. Industrial production operations harvest Cornish cross at 42 days using high-density grain rations. On a decentralized stealth feed diet, your timeline expands to exactly 84 days. You are doubling the time on pasture to allow their bodies to process non-grain inputs efficiently. Here are the real structural milestones I recorded during this flock's life cycle. On day 1, chicks arrive at an average weight of 1.4 ounces. They are placed in a high-efficiency infrared brooder box. By day 14, average weight hits 11 ounces. This is also the point of introduction for the first finely minced lacto-fermented produce blends. By day 21, average weight reaches 1.5 pounds. The birds are completely feathered out and transferred permanently to the outdoor pasture tractor. By day 28, average weight scales to 2.8 pounds. This brings us to the close of the loop regarding the banned feed ingredient from the previous chapter. After day 28, you must completely remove all highly refined bakery waste, white bread scraps, and sugary trimmings from your collected grocery inputs. Cornish cross possess an intense metabolic drive. If you supply them with simple, high glycemic carbohydrates past the 4th week, their muscle tissue will expand exponentially while their skeletal system is still developing. Their leg bones will literally bow, deform, and snap under the sheer weight of their breasts. By cutting out simple sugars and starches at day 28, you deliberately slow down their growth trajectory. This forces their bodies to allocate minerals to bone density, ensuring their legs remain perfectly straight, thick, and capable of supporting an 8-pound live bird on pasture. By day 42, average weight reaches 4.2 pounds. These birds are not just growing, they are expanding. Their metabolic drive is so intense, it is almost frightening. During week 6, a critical challenge emerged. A sudden multi-day drop in ambient temperature slowed down my outdoor fermentation barrels, causing the feed to turn excessively sour. The birds rejected the cold, highly acidic mix entirely, refusing to eat for 48 hours and losing an average of 4 ounces of body mass per bird. I solved this without spending a single dollar. I scooped 2 cups of highly alkaline whitewood ash directly from my wood-burning stove and blended it into each 5-gallon bucket of feed. The calcium carbonate in the ash immediately neutralized the excess lactic acid, raising the pH back to a palatable 5.2. It also provided an immediate shot of bioavailable calcium for their bone structure. The birds returned to the feeders within 3 hours of application. By day 56, average weight registers at 5.5 pounds. By day 70, average weight reaches 7.2 pounds. By day 84, final live weight tops out at an average of 8.5 pounds per bird. Let us speak clearly about processing day. If you choose to raise meat animals, you must accept the mechanical reality of the harvest. You cannot outsource this labor if your goal is a $0 operating cost. I processed all 20 birds alone on a Saturday morning. My infrastructure was basic: a single home-fabricated dispatch cone cut from a recycled plastic 5-gallon bucket, a propane-fired outdoor scalding pot maintained at exactly 145 degrees Fahrenheit, and a manual hand-stripping frame. The operations follow a strict sequence. Each bird moves from the dispatch cone into a 45-second scald, then directly to manual plucking, followed by the evisceration table, and finishes in the ice-chill bath. It took me exactly 14 minutes per bird from the initial dispatch to the final cold water immersion bath. The major surprise during this process was the anatomical structural difference compared to grain-fed birds. The gizzards of these chickens were twice the size of a standard grain-fed broiler. This was a direct physiological response to processing raw forage and fibrous green materials for 12 weeks. The abdominal fat pad was not a pale, watery white. It was a dense, deep orange-yellow, indicating a high concentration of fat-soluble vitamins retained from the pasture plants and active larval feed. While processing the 9th bird, my scalding water temperature dropped down to 132 degrees due to a sudden block in the propane line regulator. I did not notice the temperature drop until I attempted to pull the primary wing feathers, which remained locked hard in the follicles. Instead of pausing operations to clear the line, which would allow the completed carcasses to warm up on the table, I adjusted my methodology. I extended the dip duration to 90 seconds and used a firm directional thumb rolling technique along the quill lines to release the feathers without tearing the delicate skin. This added 3 minutes of manual labor per bird, but it maintained the structural integrity of the carcass without wasting fuel or time. To truly understand if this configuration makes sense for your property, we must lay out the financial metrics line by line. We are comparing 20 birds raised under my stealth feed system against 20 standard grain-fed backyard birds and 20 premium store-bought organic carcasses. The initial chick cost was identical for both home-raised approaches, $70 total or $3.50 per bird. Under my stealth feed system, the commercial feed cost was $0. Under the standard backyard grain approach, that same line item comes to $240 for 300 pounds of organic feed. Infrastructure depreciation for the stealth feed approach ran $12 compared to $45 for the stationary setup. The total monetary outlay for my stealth feed system was $82 for 20 birds. The standard grain-fed home approach came to $355. The store-bought organic equivalent would have cost $1,078.80. Translated to cost per pound of meat, excluding labor, my stealth feed system produced clean, pasture-raised chicken at 67 cents per pound. The standard home grain-fed approach costs $2.91 per pound. The store-bought organic label sits at $8.99 per pound. Now, let us reveal and calculate the hidden costs that I established in the second chapter: your personal labor time. The stealth feed system requires active management. Collecting buckets from the grocery store took 30 minutes twice a week. Managing the anaerobic fermentation bins took 15 minutes every 3 days. Moving the chicken tractor and monitoring the larval reactor required 15 minutes daily. Finally, processing day took exactly 5 hours of continuous physical labor. Across the 84-day cycle, I expended a total of 40 hours of direct human labor to manage these 20 birds. If you calculate that time at a standard baseline valuation of $15 per hour, you must add a theoretical overhead cost of $600 to the project. If you view your homesteading tasks through a strict corporate paradigm where every minute must be billed, then your actual cost per bird rises to $34.10. If you view this time as a form of active exercise, decentralized food security, and a replacement for recreational hobbies, your out-of-pocket cash expense to put 122 pounds of clean, nutrient-dense meat into your freezer is exactly $82. When we roasted the first whole bird with nothing but a light layer of sea salt and cracked black pepper, the meat possessed a dense, complex structural texture that reminded me of traditional European countryside poultry, a profile completely distinct from the soft, bland, watery muscle tissue found in standard supermarket packaging. If you want to close this production loop entirely so you never have to pay a commercial hatchery for day-old chicks again, you need to master your own reproduction system. In my previous video, I showed you exactly how to trigger ancient hormonal sequence that transforms standard laying hen into a dedicated incubator. By placing a single ceramic nest egg into a darkened corner nest box for a precise 24-hour window without using a single watt of electricity, she will sit, protect, and hatch your next generation of broiler chicks for free. What is your personal threshold for the maximum cost per pound you're willing to pay before you pull your family's meat supply completely out of the commercial grocery system? Let me know in the comments below.